Hi, Analisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the April 2024 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Cancer. Hi, Cancers. How are you? My name's Analisa, and I am here to tell you what's up for you guys for the month of April. I'm an astrologer and tarot reader. I also work with dogs, and I'm a musician and just multifaceted person. Um, my dog is actually a Cancer and he is looking for crumbs on the floor right now. April is a doozy. April is a doozy. I will say at the beginning of this, I'm also taking on new astrology and tarot clients. So if you want to do a one-on-one session and see how this next month is going to be impacting your personal life, you can book me by emailing me at the email address that I have in the description box. I charge $100 for 60 to 90-minute astrology sessions, 35 for a 30-minute tarot session, and 75 for an hour tarot session. All right, let's just dive right in. So we are in Aries season as we get the month kicked off. So every April we start out in the cardinal fire sign of Aries. Aries, is the sign that we move into when spring is starting, when we have the spring equinox. It's the energy that really kind of feels like new life, rebirth, the sun is out, the days are longer, all these kinds of things are happening. Flowers blooming, birds chirping, all of that energy is very prominent right now. We start out April with the sun, the north node, Chiron, and Mercury all in the cardinal fire sign of Aries. And Mercury is actually stationing retrograde at 27 degrees of Aries on April 1st, on April Fool's Day. And it's just, yeah, I mean, Mercury is associated with trickster energy. So I think that it's pretty fitting that Mercury is stationing retrograde on this day. But let's talk about kind of what this means for you, Cancer. So, Aries energy is cardinal fire. You, as a Cancer, are what is called a cardinal water sign. So, you initiate energy in the element of water, and water represents our emotions, our connection to spirituality, our connection to, everything that's kind of feeling and intuition centered. It also, in the sign of Cancer, represents our connection to ancestral lineage and family, because Cancer is the ruler of the fourth house. Your planetary ruler is the moon. And so everything that, kind of represents more of that uh, familial, emotional realm is what you represent. Aries is cardinal fire. Aries represents the willpower. It's ruled by Mars, and it has to do with our ability to initiate our willpower, our desires, our passions into our lives in a way that's very self-oriented and self-focused. Because you are a cardinal sign and Aries is a cardinal sign, the way that it works in astrology is that you guys make a 90-degree angle to each other, which is called a square in astrology aspects. There's tension. There is tension within a 90-degree angle. So the Mercury retrograde in Aries and all the Aries energy that's happening in the Cancer horoscope is squaring your sense of self. It's challenging your sense of self. Mercury is the ruler of communication. It rules our ideas, our perspectives, the way that we think about things, how we talk about things. And so when we have Mercury retrograde, we are in a period where we're reflecting and reviewing some sort of perspective, idea. There could be issues with technology, there could be issues with paperwork, there could be maybe if we've signed a contract or started a business endeavor where there's a lot of moving parts or written words or, documents, those are things that we might have to go back over and kind of reassess and review. So the area of the chart that this is hitting for you, Cancer, is the area that has to do with your public life. So the work that you do, your career, and also how you do that work in the public. Even if you have a job that's not public facing, so like even if you're more, kind of just self-employed and just focusing, if you're like a bookkeeper, so it's like you've got clients, but you mostly just do things through emails or things like that. this is still going to be a challenging time when it comes to how you're communicating and confronting conflict and challenges within your work life. And this is also a challenging time in terms of how it impacts your sense of self. And it brings up maybe some ego kind of reflections. And by that, I mean, we all have an ego. And this is the thing about talking about ego that I get really, there's different ways to talk about the ego. Some people hear the word ego, and because we have a negative kind of connotation of being like, oh, that person's egocentric or that person's egotistical, we automatically hear the word ego. And a lot of people have a negative connotation with it. That's all real. There's definitely the negative connotation of the ego where people can be that way. They can be egotistical, egocentric in a way that's problematic. And those are themes coming up right now with Mercury and Aries retrograde. But there's also a part of our ego that is absolutely necessary and a very big part of being alive and being in a human experience. And that would be kind of like ego identity, right? And I think that if we're building a brand or we are a part of a company that has an ego identity, like I went to school at the Aveda Institute of Portland, and Aveda as a company has a brand, they're a franchise. And if you own a franchise through Aveda, there's a certain brand identity and culture that you have to adhere to. And that could be looked at as like the ego of the business. And when you're self-employed, you will often have to have a brand identity, in order to attract business or clients. And so during all of this Mercury retrograde in Aries, where it's hitting in the chart for Cancer is reflecting a lot on your ego identity within the work that you do in your public life. And for some people, depending on the work that you've done on yourself, you might be reflecting on egocentric or egotistical things that are in that negative camp. Or it might have nothing to do with you being egocentric or egotistical. It might have more to do with your relationship to your identity brand and how you're putting that out into the world and whether or not it's serving you in the work that you're doing in the public or within your career. Another thing with Mercury and Aries retrograde here is that there's a lot of risk for there to be misunderstandings in communication within the career or the work life, the public life, misunderstandings because people are, maybe being reactive or asserting something in a way that's taken the wrong way. So there's a lot of opportunity for humility with this retrograde, and it's the platform and the playing field for you is going to be your work, your career. So that's just something to kind of be mindful of and watch out for, because the lesson here, with Mercury retrograde is always reflect, review, reassess, relearn something, redo something. And, in Aries, it's very impatient. We want everything to just kind of happen. And sometimes we overlook things because of that impatience. And so, you do best to kind of slow down as much as you can, but other people around you might be the ones that are being reactive. So it's a challenging time for us in all ways. I'm just like thinking like we're all under the influence of it. So yeah, we could be feeling really impatient and just kind of like, I need this to happen. And the guidance is to kind of slow your roll, because you're going to learn some hard lessons if you push something too hard that's not ready to be pushed. The other thing that we have happening at the start of the month is a stellium in Pisces, and we've had a lot of energy in Pisces for a bit now, so this isn't totally new energy, but we've got Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and Mars all in Pisces. And so the area that this has been lighting up for the Cancer individual is the ninth house, which is the house that represents our values and belief systems. And so when we have a lot passing through this area of the chart, we are in a deep reflective period around our values and beliefs. This could be spiritual, religious, cultural. This can also represent institutions that have to do with education and learning. It also can represent legal battles or pursuits. It's also the house of publishing. So if you've been working on any kind of book or, project that is, in the process of getting published, there could be a lot of momentum around that or energy around that. But again, with Mercury retrograde this month, there could be a lot of things that get in the way, slow things down, or mistakes that are made, things like that. Let's talk about Venus moving out of Pisces. So Venus on the 4th/5th, depending on which time zone you're in, is going to be moving into the sign of Aries. And so when Venus enters Aries, this is actually a really positive time for your career. Even though Mercury is retrograde, when Venus is in the 10th house, she brings promotions, blessings, a desire to kind of level up in the public and kind of the work that you're doing. There's more attention on you here, especially with the sun here. So, even if you don't necessarily feel like you're ready for it, you're going to be getting some kind of boost when it comes to your career and the work that you're doing. On April 8th, we have a solar eclipse hitting at 19 degrees. At 19 degrees of Aries. And solar eclipses, happen when there's a new moon, but they're powerful. They open a portal of energy. They're really intense. We feel kind of like a big shift and a big change happening. And this solar eclipse, is going to be conjunct Chiron. It's going to have the influence of the nodal axis. And, so whatever wounds that we might have around our identity or our ego expression in the public life or the career, these are themes that are going to come up during this time that we have to address and reflect on. And if we have intentions that we want to set around how we want to move through the world differently moving forward, this is a really positive time to kind of tell the universe, like, I'm ready for this next chapter in terms of who I am. Sorry if you can hear that helicopter. There's always some crazy air action above my apartment that is loud. But yeah, so this April 8th new moon solar eclipse is a really positive time for you to kind of be cracked open in terms of your identity expression, your relationship to your ego, and what are some of the shifts or changes that you feel you need to make in order to have a stronger identity and sense of self out in the world and in the work that you're doing. And again, like Aries squares Cancer, so it could feel a little tense. It could feel kind of like you're being cracked open, in a way that, and being asked to maybe take more leadership. Aries is leadership too. It rules, taking charge and taking control and pushing forward. And so you might feel like you're required to step more into a leadership position in your life in a way that could feel really intense. It could be maybe not something that you feel ready for, but the universe is telling you that it's time. And if you're somebody that naturally is inclined to want to take charge or lead, this might be exactly what you've been needing. Again, try to walk, not run, because there's a lot of energy here that's going to humble you real quick. The next thing that we have going on, we've got Mars in Pisces during this entire month, and then the sun is going to be entering Taurus on the 19th. So the area that is getting highlighted for you with the sun moving into Taurus is the area that has to do with friendship circles, social circles, political organizations we associate with, group dynamics. So with the sun here, our social life gets a big boost. We might be feeling like we want to network, or we want to be more extroverted and kind of looking for pleasure within community. Taurus has a big connection to pleasure, and pleasure through physical sensations like eating good food, physical touch. So like going out and getting a massage or going dancing, things like that. Taurus also really enjoys gifts and connecting through things like jewelry and nature, those types of things. So social hangs with people that you can connect with and enjoy things with. Cancer also really loves food and comfort, kind of things, like, being cozy at home and having a good meal, baking some bread, things like that. And so you might feel kind of some of those inclinations to want to do those Cancer type things, but with people, especially in the sign of Taurus. On let's see, we've got April 23rd, we're going to have our full moon at 4 degrees of Scorpio. And what's interesting about that is that shortly after that, 2 days later, we're going to have Mercury finally stationing direct in Aries at 15 degrees of Aries. And so we'll have the full moon in Scorpio, which is a great time for manifesting and also letting go of things that no longer serve us. And the area of the chart that's hitting for Cancer has a lot to do with our relationship to creativity and self-expression. And so you've had so much of this kind of need to reflect on who you are out in the world and how you're putting yourself out in the world. And with this full moon, Scorpio energy is really about letting things go and transmutation of energy. And so you might be feeling like you need to take more control over how you express yourself creatively, your relationship to creativity, and whatever fears or blockages or deep things within the subconscious that have been kind of getting in your way of just being free with yourself. This is a powerful time to let that go. And when Mercury stations direct shortly after, a couple days later, it's going to really be like, okay, I feel like I sat and did all that reflect, review, brand identity or ego identity reflection. Who am I? How do I get myself to this elevated place in my life that's more in charge and more confident? And by this full moon and this Mercury direct, you're kind of ready to step into it, step into your power and release that fear. Um, a few days after that, on the 28th, 29th, sorry, we're going to have Venus entering Taurus, and she's going to be joining the party with the sun in that area of the chart that has to do with friendship circles, groups, political organizations, and community oriented things. And so it's going to be a really social time for you heading into May. And it's a great time for networking, making new friends, feeling in alignment with the community that you're in, doing things that, kind of bring you a sense of purpose and pleasure, out in the world. So, we get it's rocky for April, but by the end of April, we were really feeling like we're ready to take charge and kind of get ourselves into a place that is more in alignment with the direction that we want to head in. All right, Cancer, I'm going to leave you there. I wish you the best of luck. If you liked this video, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and you will get notifications. I post these every month. And I wish you all the best of luck. I will see you in May.